Good day and welcome. This is Midday News on MITV. I am Tomisi Adebukola. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timothy Silva, says Nigeria was not meeting its Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC production quota due to oil theft. Silva led a federal government delegation on anti-oil theft to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa on Delta of Delta State. Said the team was in Asaba to seek the support and buy-in of the state government on measures to adopt to check oil theft, in the country. The country, he said, cannot sustain the kind of theft perpetually. Oil theft has become a national emergency, especially as the nation has not been able to meet its OPEC production quota. Now, Silva noted that the nation's production has dropped drastically to very unsustainable levels. As such, the federal government has decided to take the bull by the horn by putting some structures in place, and those structures cannot function effectively without the collaboration of the state government. On his part, Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Robo, who is coordinating the security intervention against oil theft, said the security agencies have been dealing with the issues of illegal refineries and oil bunkering across the Niger Delta in the last 5 months. Robo advocated the engagement of indigenous and host communities in the fight against the criminal activity. The management of the National Assembly has assured staff of constant training and retraining to equip them for the task of delivering on the legislative process. Clerk of the National Assembly, Amos Ojo, stated this at the opening of a 3-day training workshop in Abuja. House of Representatives correspondent Linda Ike reports Ojo emphasized the continuous training in any organization, boost the morale of staff as well as improve the overall competence as well as build a sense of security in staff. Ojo's position was also supported by the Clerk of the House of the Representatives, Yahya Nazaria, who added that the training is aimed at educating staff to understand how the legislature works, said the function and its function and importance is very, very, very important in a democracy. The aim of the workshop is to ensure the Nigerian legislature operates in conformity with global best practices.
Indeed, the purpose of training and retraining of staff in public institutions is the recognition of the need to build capacity and strengthen the institutions that will represent the yearnings of the public served by those in government. That is why I have chosen to speak to you today on legislative work ethics and behavioral conduct in a workplace. Civil servants who perform their duties in the service contrary to the rules and regulations as stipulated in the civil service rules are said to have divided loyalty to the government or institution or constituted authority under which they work. Sadly, it's been noted that over the years, the attitudes and behavior of some civil servants in Nigeria's civil service, including the National Assembly, are not conducive to the efficient administration of the affairs of the service.
When it comes to training and retraining, we try as much as possible to put in all that is required. And one of the ways of doing this is adequate training of the staff. So as I said at one of our training programs organized for the staff, we cannot continue to do things in the same way, and we expect to achieve different results. Although it is the legislators that have the monopoly of presenting bills during plenary. Most of you here in present play critical, supportive roles in ensuring the enactment of quality bills.
The Military High Command has confirmed the arrest of our Catholic Church attackers. According to the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS General Lucky Robo, The arrest was made possible by joint operations of all the security agencies. The CDS, who listed the names, noted that the suspects, who are members of the Islamic State of West African Province, are in custody. Recall about 40 people were killed when the gunmen stormed the church on the 5th of June, opened fire on the congregation and also detonated explosives as the worshippers scampered for safety. Operatives of Amotekun Corps in Ondo State earlier claimed they also arrested some suspects in connection with the killings, briefing journalists in Akure on the 23rd of June. The state commander of Amotekun, Adetunji Adeleye, expressed assurance all the attackers of the worship center will be apprehended. Adeleye, however, did not give the actual figure of the suspected terrorists arrested. Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has confirmed the arrest of 5 of the killers of the worshippers at St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo, Ondo State. The governor confirmed this in Akure, said he was informed by the CDS of the latest information on the arrest. Akeredolu stated that the suspected bombers were arrested last week and the photographs of the suspects were forwarded to him. About 5 of them, he said, were arrested and the military is on the trail of others. As the 2023 general elections draw closer, the Job Mandate Group, in conjunction with 5 other support groups, 35 other support groups, have drummed up support for the Delta State candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Sheriff Obovare. The national coordinator, the Job Mandate Group, Andaye Dagidi, while addressing journalists at the peaceful protest at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja, stated that Sheriff remains the only substantial candidate of the party in the state. It described individuals and groups demanding the disqualification of the gubernatorial candidate and the removal of the national chairman of the PDP, Yocha Ayu, as faceless mourners, noting they do not represent the interest of the party. The group called for the prosecution of perpetrators sponsoring crisis within the party. The National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugwagba, also receiving the communique from the group's secretary, stated that the party will address issues raised in the communique and take necessary action.
Yes, we are PDP has started winning again. PDP has reinvigorated their hope to take over presidency 2023. To count it, to hold it, to count it, to hold it, to count it for a shot. IU has led this NWC to conduct a peaceful primaries across the nation peacefully. Across the nation, PDP primaries were conducted. 2, he led this NWC to conduct a free and fair national convention that gave us Atiku Okowa, presidential candidate of the PDP. We also appreciate IU and his NWC members for reclaiming Osun State back to PDP. And that is not all at all. What of in Abuja municipal councils? Reclaiming them back to PDP. And we have come to say, IU should stay.
Yes.
Yes. We have come to pass an implicit vote of confidence on IU-led NWC of the PDP.
To that extent, we will take note of all your statement and the concern that you have raised here. And consistent with the position of this NWC, we shall look at this and they will respond appropriately. But I must thank you very much, one, for the confidence you have expressed publicly and in writing, for the support for Dr. Yosha Ayu-led NWC. I want to assure you that this NWC, consistent with its mission, will continue to be fair to all members of the party, and all processes that have been taking place has been in accordance with the constitution of our party. We are a law-abiding party. We respect court, we respect court orders, and we act on them. And again, we want to reiterate that this party will remain so, working directly in compliance with its constitution, with the Constitution of Nigeria, and of course, the directive, of course, as and when they are received.
The Ogun State Police Command has read the riot act to criminals to steer clear, of the state as necessary security measures have been put in place to ensure adequate life and proper adequate security of lives and property. The State Commissioner of Police, Lanre Balogun, was speaking while decorating 6 officers at the command at the state headquarters, including the Police Public Relations Officer, Abimbola Oyeyemi, from the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police to the Superintendent of Police, while seeking necessary synergy between the police and other sister agencies and residents towards strengthening the security architecture of Ogun State. He assured residents not to exercise any form of fear as they go about their day-to-day activities.
Command will not relent in its efforts to ensure a safer, more secured environment. And let me also seize this opportunity to ask the people of Ogun State to go about their lawful duties without let of hindrance, as all measures have been put in place to ensure that security of lives and properties are guaranteed. To those who will still want to, in one way or the other, engage in acts that are inimical to the peace and security of the state, I want to sound this note of warning that they do not have a place in Ogun State. And the long arm of the law will surely get them if they refuse to retract their steps. So on this note, I want to encourage the citizens to continue to partner with us by giving adequate and actionable information for us to be able to serve them better. Thank you.
Women of Haya Hassa Akpara clan in Umuahia South local government area of Abia State on Tuesday took to the street to protest the continued detention of their son, Professor Uwadinachi Uweha. Professor Uweha, a medical doctor, was kidnapped by unknown gunmen in front of his house on Sunday, June 5th, 2022, and has not been seen since then, thus raising fears of his safety. The Irish women who thronged out in their tens and hundreds decried the spate of kidnapping in the state and demanded his unconditional release. They expressed worry over the safety and pleaded with his abductors to free him. The women later marched to the palace of their traditional ruler, Eze Godfrey Ibekama, to convey their bitterness over the situation. Speaking at the palace, the leader of the women, Sali Ukwawa, who was represented by Dame Victory Asomuha, said they were no longer comfortable that 9 weeks after their illustrious son was abducted, no action has been taken to rescue him. She urged for urgent action to rescue the doctors, saying women in the community will no longer tolerate his continued stay in the kidnapper's den. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria MAN and the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry LCC High have warned the federal government over the rising debt profile and deteriorating state of the economy, that the two bodies identified the country's debt rising profile and the infrastructural decay were problematic to economic development in Nigeria. MAN explained that the economic mismanagement might result in major manufacturing job losses given the rising cost of production and other factors, while the LCCI said the nation's debt profile had become a problem in the face of dwindling revenue and unsustainable burden of subsidy payments. The group advised the federal government to adopt measures to increase the country's revenue and borrow from cheaper sources to ameliorate Nigeria's debt portfolio. The Director General of MAN, Segun Ajayi Kadri, said the worsening economic situation was impacting manufacturers negatively, leading to the depletion in working capital, reduction in capacity utilization, with possible labor force right-sizing to follow. The LCCI president, on his part, Dr. Michael Olawale Cole, gave the advice in Lagos and said most recent statistics on government revenue showed poor performance and mounting government costs, making it evident Nigeria is going through a debt crisis. We'll bring you more stories from the foreign scene after we take this very quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back. Kenyans voted to select their successor to President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday. Cost of living, high unemployment, and rampant corruption have dominated the campaign season, with top presidential candidates like Raila Odinga and William Ruto pledging to address the country's gaping inequality and focus largely on domestic issues. Kenya's Election Commission said voter turnout will probably be about 60%. According to the Election Commission, turnout in the last election in 2017 was nearly 80%, while stating the Kenyans living abroad in 12 countries are also voting. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan is currently in Kenya to monitor the general elections, including a presidential election which has 4 politicians contesting to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. Jonathan traveled to the East African country as a member of the Election Observation Mission of the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa. The former president on Tuesday made a statement available on his verified Facebook page with pictures of his attendance in some of the polling centers to observe the polling procedure. Jonathan wrote, and we quote, "We set out at dawn as members of the Election Observation Mission of the Electoral Institute of Sustainable Democracy in Africa to observe voting procedures in some polling stations in Nairobi, Kenya. As the good people of Kenya come out today to cast their ballot across the country, we look forward to a peaceful outcome and strengthening of democracy in the Republic of Kenya." The counting of votes has commenced by Kenya Electoral Umpire, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC), as 4 presidential candidates, William Ruto, Raila Odinga, David Marare, and George Wajakoya, are all waiting to see the result.
No significant delays yet that can affect the elections. Yes, that is from the few places we have observed. There may be some infractions in other places. Listening to the media, somebody has been arrested with a cutlass and things like that, but we have no witness sources seen. And we pray that we'll continue in that spirit.
So the readiness and preparedness of IBC, how do you judge it compared to other African countries?
I think I'm impressed with what I have seen. I'm quite impressed with what I've seen. I've been involved in a number of elections. I can say they have tried in terms of preparation. But most cases in elections, the beginning may look smooth, but later in the day things will change. We only pray that what we have observed now should continue till the tallying, correlation and tallying of results.
The Kremlin has dismissed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's proposal for a Western travel ban on Russians, saying the call is irrational. France has said that a ban on Russian nationals entering military installations was applied too rigidly when 2 Russian visitors were turned away at the Chateau de Vincennes, a medieval fortress and tourist attraction on the edge of Paris. After media coverage and social media comments on the issue, the Defense Ministry told a news agency the guards had in fact indiscriminately applied a rule established in February concerning all military installations. A spokesman said the rule cannot be applied in the same way for strategic sites and for sites accessible to the public, such as museums. Meanwhile, an international news agency quoted a Russia-installed separatist official as saying an anti-aircraft defense around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to be strengthened following days of reported shelling on the site. Russia's defense ministry has said that explosions at the Russia military airbase in Crimea were caused by a detonation of aviation ammunition and that there had been no casualties. According to the RIA Novosti news agency, it said there had been no attack and no military equipment had been damaged. After loud explosions and black smoke rising from the direction of a Russia military airbase at Novorodivka in the annexed Crimea Peninsula were reported. We'll take another break. When we come back this time, we'll bring you sports stories. Please stay tuned. MPFL champions will face Liberian club Watanga FC in the preliminary round of the CAF Championship League, according to the draw held on Tuesday. Rivers didn't make it past the second round in their last outing and will count on the confidence boost gotten from their first league title win to advance to the group stage this time around. Watanga FC are also league winners for the first time in their history. The winner of the two-legged tie will face defending champions Wydad Casablanca in the next round. Nigeria has had a representative, Plateau United, who finished second in the MPFL, faces Azamanji of Gabon, and in the event they win over two legs, they will face a stiff opposition in Battle Tunisian club Esperance de Tunis for a spot in the group stage. Plateau United fell at the first hurdle when they qualified for the preliminary round as league winners in the 2020-2021 MPFL season. Meanwhile, the city of Arusha in Tanzania will today host 51 African countries during the 44th General Assembly that will take place at the Arusha International Convention Center, home to two of some of the continent's biggest clubs that regularly compete in the CAF Interclub competitions, Simba and Yanga. Tanzania is an incredibly breathtaking football country. For this reason, Arusha is a befitting host for this week's meeting that will bring together football administrators from across the entire continent. Tanzania Football Federation President Wallace Karia is excited, saying this is an historic moment for his country, Tanzania. They have been preparing for this for months. And finally, seeing everyone arrive in Arusha gives him satisfaction, great satisfaction as a Tanzanian. The 52 member associations of Africa will be represented at the 44th CAF Ordinary General Assembly. And Anthony Joshua has been given the green light to fight Deontay Wilder, even if he loses his rematch with Alexander Usyk. Joshua faces Usyk for a second time on August 20 in Saudi Arabia following defeat last September. A win would regain the WBA, IBF, WBO belts and put AJ back on course for an undisputed decider with WBC champion Tyson Fury. While the second consecutive loss at the hands of Ukraine's pound-for-pound star will leave Joshua's stock at an all-time low. Despite that, Wilder's Hall of Fame manager Shelley Finkel would be interested in pitting the long-time rivals together. Fury still remains linked with a comeback to challenge the winner between Usyk, 35, and Joshua, 32. But the likes of Eddie Hearn reckon the unbeaten champ will only fight again if AJ is victorious in the Middle East. Although Finkel believes if the Saudis front the right amount of cash, Fury would return against Usyk or anyone else in the division. Thanks for joining us on our news at 12. We'll bring you more stories on a news update at 6 o'clock. Do join us then. I am Tomisi at Debukola. Good afternoon.